the Australian dream was to own your little piece of paradise, and it was an achievable dream.
This is a villa where the average Mr. and Mrs. Australian and their 2.5 children live.
Get married, I get myself a couple of cars, I get myself a Holden, get myself a Ford. And so this is an expression of who we want it to be.
But let's not for a minute confuse it with products of conscious, educated design.
For a small amount of money, you could buy plans from the newspaper, and they were designed by a bunch of our best architects at the time. Post-war period, people needed to build homes, and for a small price, a few dollars, you could buy them, and they would churn them out. And it changed the concept of the way that our suburbs looked.
Paddington was once the province of the pushers and the razor gangs. Today it is still partly a slum area. But a new generation of Australians has discovered Paddington's old houses. And now, gradually, Paddington is taking on a new lease of life.
Students had started living in terrace houses in the inner city, and they like the action, and they get used to it, and they like the food, and they like the bars and the restaurants and the music, and they like the culture. And at that stage, the lure of the terrace house becomes huge because it's been part of their lives. I don't want to go out to the whoop-whoop. I want to stay where the pasture is.
I suppose basically I'm a city dweller at heart. I like the built-up urban form of the place. I prefer not to go out into the suburbs where it's all very open and thin on the ground.
For those who earn less than £20 a week, the housing position is desperate. A husband and wife with their 2 children live in this room, in a house they share with 4 other families. A far cry from the ideal of the quarter-acre block with all its aesthetic problems.
How much do you pay for your room here?
£6.10.
Couldn't you get anywhere else to live?
No, it's cheaper here. They're all too dear.
And what about a house?
The deposit and all that, you can't afford it.
So when the first of the Housing Commission towers were opened up in Melbourne in the late 1960s, early 1970s, families weren't allowed to live there because the thought was that apartments aren't a place where children should grow up.
We didn't know how we would cope as a family unit leaving a suburban home, and within the first month we knew that it was the right decision. The house was an enormous amount of work to look after, and it just didn't leave a lot of time for anything else.
To be able to have my own space and to be wherever I want and not have to pay rent or look after a mortgage and always have somewhere to stay was really important to me.
The idea of Australians being able to afford a free standing home where they would like it is gone. But our way of life, if we do it properly, will probably be better in lots of ways. You know, you probably find yourself being able to live in a very good apartment with great parks and great beaches, potentially, or great restaurants, cafes, theatres. And it's a shift in thinking that you see people have come to terms with full stop, that the public park is your new backyard.